So, good morning, Johnson.
Hi, Pat.
Thank you for
Hello.
being here. I'm so excited to meet you today, but especially about the fact that you're coming to Switzerland at the end of June, and it will be such a beautiful and sacred occasion. Many of us are really looking forward. I know you're offering a sacred ceremony, which comes straight from the indigenous area of Peru. And this is something that we really have to reconnect with in our lives today. It's very, very important. Um, the synchronicity for me is that my very first initiations began with Castaneda in the 70s. And shamans are teachers or healers. So I know you are both a teacher and a healer. Castaneda was only a teacher, but his precepts were the very first thing he said was stop the time, get off the carousel and stop the time. And second precept was stop looking and see, begin to see. And those precepts are still valid today. And in their tradition, Castaneda's tradition, they were devoted to Mescalito. And now today you're bringing us back to the spirit of Mescalito through the cactus.
Yeah.
Uh, and as an animist, and I'm actually a chemist, which means there's the divine in nature, in every aspect of nature. Um, so, yes, this is something that runs very deep, and I'd say very wide, very deep, very vast as an experience. So perhaps you can talk to us a bit about your own path towards the cactus and where we are now.
Sure. Yes. Well, thanks for first inviting me to Switzerland. It's about time
It's about time.
that we do something together. We have done, some chats and conversations on podcast things before in the past, and I'm really excited to co-create and collaborate with you live in the flesh and to connect with Switzerland. First time being there to connect with the land there. And, as you were talking about Carlos Castaneda and your initiation into Mescalito, which is mescaline, which is the main compound that is found in peyote and also in San Pedro, which in indigenous language is called Huachuma. And, Huacha means to cut off, and Uma means the head. And so when we eat the San Pedro cactus, we're symbolically cutting off the head of the ego. We're cutting off our intellectualizing, over analyzing of things that tends to get us into trouble. And we connect to the heart because we eat the skin of the cactus. And just like the human skin was actually created from the very same tissue of the heart when we were in the as an embryo. When we're growing, our skin grew from the skin of the heart. And so, interestingly enough, we're eating the skin of the cactus, which very much is the heart of the cactus, because when you cut the cactus open, it doesn't have organs. It is purely it's this watery core inside that very much looks like a cucumber or like aloe vera. And so the main organ is the skin. And and so it's this beautiful heart opening medicine. And the conquistadors, when they went in the 16th century into Peru, they they educated the local indigenous people to, or when the missionaries anyway, said the keepers to the keys of heaven is Saint Peter. And the indigenous people knew that in order for them to continue practicing their shamanic work, they would have to mix the Catholicism that was imposed on them, and so they called Huachuma San Pedro, so that it would be more acceptable by the Spaniards. They're like, oh, we also have a keeper to the keys of heaven, and it is this plant, this cactus. And so to this day, they use the word San Pedro and Huachuma interchangeably. It
Mm-hmm.
was a way for them to keep the wisdom traditions underground. And so if you when we go to Peru, there's a lot of mixture between Catholicism and the shamanic practices there. They see the Virgin Mary as Pachamama, and they see Jesus Christ as a variation of Taita Inti or Father Son. And so there's this beautiful reawakening with this medicine because it really is the medicine of the heart, and it helps to open the heart. This medicine has been used actually even pre-Incan times in ancient civilizations before the Incan Empire rose, like the Moche and the Chavin, and even further back. Some say that it's been documented even 6,000 years earlier. And when you go to this particular area of Peru called Chavin, there's an ancient temple with underground tunnels, and it's designed to be almost like a center of awakening. There's lots of glyphs on the walls of the sacred power animals, the puma, the snake, and the condor, who represent the three worlds. And we know that the three worlds in all local indigenous shamanic cultures represents, the subconscious, the lower world, all that's hidden, the secrets, and then the middle world, which is the world of relating with others, the world that we're in, the world of the trees and the plants and the animals and human beings. And then we have the upper world, which is the mysterious world. It's this connection to higher guidance and to the ineffable, the blueprint of life moving through us in mysterious ways. And what Huachuma does is it bridges a connection through all three of the worlds. And so often in ceremony, the Huachuma was used as a way for shamans to perceive through seeing, through hearing, tasting, sensing, touching, tasting, what ailment was going on for the person who was participating in the ceremony. However, I'm very much a proponent of that we're all our own inner healers and our own inner sages. And so we all have the capacity to witness what the issue is at hand. We all have some sort of disconnection from source, a disconnection from self, a disconnection from each other, from the land, to a varying degree, greater or lesser. And our only task, in our personal development, spiritual development journey, is to find what those points are, or as since you're a Jungian analyst, as Jung said, we have to make that which is unconscious conscious, otherwise it runs the show. And that is what Huachuma does. Huachuma is the medicine of scrambling up the patterns that have kept us stuck. It is the medicine of deep, deep empathy for ourselves and others. It is the medicine of love. It is a medicine of ecstatic joy. It is a medicine of deeply feeling what is honestly there. And there's no tiptoeing around what you are avoiding when you're working with this medicine. So if there's something that has been hidden within the chambers of your heart, it will be revealed. And what's revealed will eventually be healed. This is the medicine we're working with. So
yeah, sounds great. Sounds great. We'll call in the spirit of Jung as well, because he was very devoted to the indigenous belief systems. And his first collaboratress, Marie-Louise von Franz, once said to him, you're more like a shaman than an analyst. And he said, oh, that's an honor, of course. And I call Jung the shaman of the psyche because, yes, the upper, middle, and lower worlds are worlds that he knew all about, that he connected to. And opening the heart is the key to the world, isn't it? It's the key to the cosmos, the key to evolution. That's what we're here for on planet Earth, actually. If we come back down to the basics. Don Juan always said, there's only one path of the heart. Follow the path to the heart. So thank you for bringing us to this sphere of the heart, which people have forgotten about. Yeah. Because the mind is leading the show, and the mind is so busy, spinning. And we come back to stopping the time, get off the carousel. And
that's the other thing about stopping time, is that Huachuma takes you into a non-linear experience of time. We move across space time. The whole structure of it collapses, where it
Yes.
almost feels as if time has contracted yet expanded all at once. And often people go on this journey of experiencing past imprints as maybe past incarnations and also
Mm-hmm.
future imprints at the same time. And when we're able to experience the source of the pattern, we can then make a decision as to whether or not we want to maintain that pattern or shift it entirely. And that's one of the beautiful things about this medicine is that once time crystallizes again, when you come off the medicine, um, there's this new remembrance as to who you were and who you are becoming, and then anchoring that in the very present now. It's a very embodied experience. A lot of other sacred plant teachers are more in the visionary. It's not to say that when you're on the Huachuma medicine that you don't receive visions. Oftentimes people get, a kaleidoscopic download of fractals. For me, my personal experience is that it's more sensory. I feel every feeling. It's a synesthesia of vibration, and I receive my dreams through my sensory, through dance,
Mm-hmm.
through my body, through the geometry of how the shapes that my body creates, which are certain symbols, which is, it's quite shamanic, becoming like a snake or becoming like the strength of the puma all of a sudden and feeling that in the body. But everyone will receive their medicine and the downloads in their own way. Most of us are a combination of all the different senses. We'll have seeing experiences and also deep feeling experiences, and maybe even hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, like, why would we want to go into a non-ordinary state of consciousness anyway?
Very good question. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Why? That's a very good question. What are people seeking? Yes. What some people don't know what they're seeking. They're just going. But I think it's nice to be clear at the beginning about intention.
Yes, I believe that without a clear intention, the respect that is needed in order to engage in a ceremony is lost, and the spirit of Wachuma will not necessarily meet you where you're at. So, in the Andean culture, and in most, in all shamanic cultures, really, there is this inherent understanding that plants are beings. So there are plant beings who are master teachers, and Huachuma is one of the master teachers in Peru and in the surrounding area in the Andes, also in Bolivia, right? And there's also plant teachers who can guide us and give us different bits of information. There's many, many plant teachers. And
Mm-hmm.
when we, just as if I were to come to your house and I didn't knock on your door and I would just barge in and say, hey, Pat, give me something. Like I want you to what you got, like prove yourself to me. And if we come in with that level of disrespect will it would yield that kind of process. We would you would have probably a process that would give you, well, the way in which you entered the home is probably the way you would be received. And sometimes that happens when people go on these quote unquote bad trips. They may
Mm-hmm.
have come in with the seed of exploitation,
Mm-hmm.
of wanting to get something before giving something. And
Yeah.
in the Andean culture, we always give something first before we receive. So we
Mm-hmm.
always go into a ceremony of offering. And so what do we offer? That's another question. Well, we offer up our ailments. We offer up the things that have been troubling us. We call this hucha in the indigenous
Mm-hmm.
language. Hucha is dense, disorganized energy. Sami is organized light. It's pure crystalline light. And like just as the Buddha said, life is suffering when we incarnate into this plane. We are inherently going to move through a series of obstacles that are hucha like, more of this dense, disorganized energy. And every human is on this journey of trying to reorient this disordered energy into organized, crystalline light energy. And so we give the hucha as actually an offering because the
Mm-hmm.
earth takes it and composts it, because that's how nature works. If we think about it, our waste, which is we exhale out carbon dioxide, that's our waste. And nature is inherently designed to take in our waste as their nutrition. The trees breathe in carbon dioxide, and then their waste is oxygen. They give out oxygen, and that's our sustenance. We take in the oxygen. So
Mm-hmm.
already we're engaging in the law of reciprocity, and this is what the in Quechua is called aini. It's
Mm-hmm.
the law of giving and receiving equally. And
Mm-hmm.
so our traumas, our big traumas, our small traumas, all the things that have been weighing us down, for us to hold on to it is actually a selfish act in the cosmology, because it is
Mm-hmm.
our burdens is actually food for the earth. And so
Mm-hmm.
now we don't just willy-nilly dump our stuff into the earth and go, here you go. We do it in a ceremonial way. We go, with reverence, with love, with respect. This grief that I've been carrying for 20 years, it goes. And we ritualize it. We just like a wedding is a ceremony, funerals are ceremonies, birthdays are ceremonies. We offer our heaviness in ceremony to the land. The land takes it and composts it, and then it thanks us. And then there's this reciprocal give and take between the spirits of the land and the spirits that are
Mm-hmm.
us. And so
Yeah.
this is really at the core of the work, when
Mm-hmm.
we're diving into these expanded states. So when people come in, we start at least with one intention, one clear intention. And if that intention starts to transform and grow and permutate during the course of the journey, then so be it. However, that first core intention is very pivotal, because it sets the tone as to where the journey is going to go.
Yes, I can understand that. Yes. So a preparation, as the beginning I said, I'm a kamiist. A kami is the pre-Shinto religion in Japan, where there are no teachers, no prophets. There's only one prescription, and that's the absorption of the divine in nature. So an excellent preparation for what you're proposing would be, yes, to absorb some of that divine in nature. Uh, look at a leaf and see the perfection in it. That's already a reverent act. Um, the divine in nature is something very powerful. And in this give and take, I mean, a lot of religions talk about, the Zen, the Buddhism, the Taoism, talk about the balance between giving and taking. One must give and receive. So in that cycle, things transform. In the giving and receiving cycle, things do transform. It's within the nature of nature itself. So it's very exciting to get into this level of apprehension that people can apprehend. Their psyche may apprehend beyond the ego. And that is a fantastic experience. And then I've had people, for example, like we go into the mirrors outside of time and space. I've had people where the journey continues 2 days, 3 days afterwards, just as a psychic experience.
That happens.
And they're traveling in ecstasy, but in evolution, not just ecstasy. It's evolution.
Sure, and
And
this is very much the purpose of the medicine. The medicine is not to be used again willy-nilly like every day. It is, I mean, for sure one can microdose it, but we use the medicine with sacred reverence as a tool until we ourselves become the medicine,
yes,
and where we no longer rely, just like any great teacher, every great teacher wants to become obsolete so that their students can themselves realize their own inner sage. And in the same way, this is the point of the medicine. So those who have had maybe more experiences that are expanded and mystical and very heartful, uh, maybe they don't need as much medicine because they're more sensitive, and they can tap into that state easily. And those who have had maybe lots of obstacles in life and more density experiences, and maybe they need a little bit more to give them a push. And then, there is a temptation to want to, and this is kind of the big issue that is happening in the psychedelic world that is colliding with mental health, because the mental health world is very much, they look at things empirically. They
Mhm.
look at things as well. It's the mind health, it's the health of the
Yeah.
mind, which, doesn't really make sense because that's not a holistic view of mind, body, heart, spirit, soul,
Mm.
animus, anima. And the medicine works on all the different levels. And recently I had an experience where I was invited in a group full of psychotherapists and psychiatrists who were part of an organization here in Australia that was responsible for legalizing the rescheduling of psilocybin and MDMA as part of therapeutic recovery for people who were clinically diagnosed as depressed. And we were the first country actually to reschedule everything, and the other countries followed. And so I was invited by this organization to come in and sit. And Bessel van der Kolk was, the author of the Body Keeps the Score, and he's been at the forefront of a lot of PTSD, MDMA, and psilocybin research in the U.S. And for making some of the changes there, he's been a pivotal part of that. And it was fascinating to see how the way in which they're using psilocybin, MDMA, they're using it in a non-spiritual context. They're going
Mm.
into a more modern psychotherapy context using the medicine. And I was a part of this, and I witnessed and I watched, and I just thought and felt, wow, we're we're really taking things away from the way in which they were designed. They were designed to, I found that some of the processes we went through when we were under medicine, because when you take the medicine and take it purely into psychotherapy, purely into the mind, um, and just mind emotions, and neglect the other realms of
Mm.
existence, the other beings, it becomes indulgent actually. And that is kind of what happened in the circles that we were in. And
Mm.
it's not to say that it isn't beneficial to use plant medicine to engage with the mind, to heal the mind. However, that is one very small piece of the puzzle, and to neglect the whole would be a disservice to what the ancients already knew. It's that we are here to reconnect with a deeper, more divine purpose and to embody that. And this medicine reminds us of that. So we're not here to, take it as a prescribed pill. I'm not
Mm.
there in the circle as anyone's healer, actually.
Mm.
Even the word shaman is not is not even the right word, because shaman has this connotation of someone is doing something to you. And I'm not doing anything to anyone except facilitating and guiding the energy in the space to support everyone to find and rediscover their own way towards wholeness. So
Mm.
in essence, everyone in the room becomes a shaman.
Yes,
Everyone in the
exactly.
room is
Exactly.
on the way towards remembering wholeness. And
Mm.
this is one of the things we will experience together.
Yes. I have had, you're talking about, the input in psychiatry, uh, the approach to mental illness. There are indigenous people who recognize mental illness as a process, uh, like the Athabascans. They call it going to roots when someone becomes completely schizophrenic. And this is a phase that they go through, which is allowed and supported, actually. And Jung himself, he noticed this. He in many schizophrenic or psychiatric situations, he noticed that people were actually in a soul struggle and that psyche was speaking in a different way. And then he said, my cure is not, my intention is not to cure neurosis, it's to lead people to the numinous. And then even the illness becomes numinous. Even the illness becomes part of the sacred. So that was Jung's intention, and I've had psychiatrists who phone me and ask me, you're into shamanism. What do you think about this person who has voices? So we look at the content of the voices and what is in that content, and we can determine, is this an introjected negative parental voice, or is this messages from another sphere? Mostly it's an introjected parental voice or critical mind. But however, we can differentiate so much if we get into the wider spheres of understanding. And leading to the numinous, yes, things drop away. This is what we call miracle. Miracle comes from mira, which means awe. We're always in awe when an illness drops away, when a mental state shifts. Um, it's always wonderful for everybody present.
Yeah. And it's
When there's a
always
shift for one
so,
person, it's for everybody.
and it's always so mind-boggling when I witness it happen. It's always also exciting and very thrilling because it's not explainable. When people I have experience in circles, in these medicine circles and medicine journeys, I've experienced people sharing years and years of pain, and maybe not like schizophrenia, but things like gut issues that have been inexplainable by Western medicine, or a certain ache or pain that catches them at the throat or the chest, that cough, that lingering cough that the doctors just prescribe this pill, but it still doesn't go away. And like you said, the indigenous don't look at disease as this thing to treat or as this object to get rid of, but it is really a message from spirit signaling you to try to understand something deeper on a
Yeah,
different level. And what's
absolutely.
interesting is that in the Andean cosmology, they also work with a chakra system, except they
Mm-hmm.
call them nyawis. Nyawi in Quechua means an eye. So they perceive each of the seven centers as an eye spinning. And in the Eastern philosophy, they see them as wheels. Yet there is this collective understanding that there's a vortex of energy that spins around. And what's even more interesting is that the power animals are correlated to their
That's right.
chakra centers as archetypes for a deeper understanding, a map of the self. So in the yogic philosophy, I'm also trained as a yogi. Like that's where my
Mm-hmm.
first trainings come from, is from the East. And in the root chakra, we have it at the base of the pelvis, the perineum, the tail, the genitals. It's this sense of grounding. It is this energy of belonging, safety. It's all of our shadows. It's everything we've kept hidden within us. It's also our survival instincts. It's the roots of the tree system. It's what is connected to the past, our lineage, our ancestry. It's our very, it's our 0 point as we come into this earth in a 3D. In the Andean culture, they have the same color. It's red. They call it the red eye instead of the root chakra. And in the red eye, they represent it with the snake as the power animal.
Mm-hmm.
And the snake represents the primordial energy. It represents the earth, listening to the earth, the rhythms of the earth, the grounding of the earth, the shedding of our skin, the shedding of all our lifetimes, our old patterns, our old stories, anything that keeps us stuck in the past. And so you, as you move up the chakra system, like we have water as the second chakra, and then you have the puma, which is represented in the Andean. It's now the orange eye, and the puma is fierce, who teaches us fearlessness, to not be afraid of our emotions, to not be afraid of the depths of feeling all of the emotions. And this is something that the medicine teaches us. It teaches us that every emotion has value. Just as I tell people who have an issue experiencing rage over an indignation that's been done to them, they have every right to. Just as volcanoes erupt in nature, we are mirrors of nature. It is very healthy for you to explore that emotion and not get attached to it, of course, but yet to have it healthily running through. And the Huachuma medicine, it initiates a healthy emotional processing system by getting us to tap into the parts of us that we were told were not right to feel, because oftentimes in modern culture we demonize certain emotions like grief and anger, and we put up other emotions like joy and awe and surprise on a higher pedestal. And this is not the shamanic way.
Mhm.
The shamanic way is, let's, if we're in full grief process, let's give space and honor it, and we'll grieve together,
Mm.
and we'll
Yes.
make that into a ceremony. And this is part of the medicine.
No repression. No, nothing is repressed. Yes. At the very beginning, you spoke about the brain sort of melting, or
Oh
uh,
yes.
this is, we see this in the sand drawings 50,000 years ago in the Kalahari, in South Africa, in the
Bushman.
Drakensberg, the Bushmen, yeah. They have these wall paintings of where the brains are melted and they are flying. From the melting of the brain, they go into this flying around. So this is a shamanic thing that's been recognized since the night of time, far beyond our memory. You get out of the egotic sphere and into something else, and that something else is your own gift. It's the gift that comes to you from spirit. So that's very interesting because everybody has a gift that's coming to them
Yeah.
that they have to approach in a certain way, in a certain sacred way.
And
But yes,
oftentimes, with the egoic mind, it's a structured way of being, the ego, and it likes familiarity. And ego is very useful. It's very useful for helping us cross the street. It's very useful for, organizing the bills, right? However, if we're only living life from that plane of existence, it's a very limited life. And for us to tap into purpose and destiny, and a deeper meaningful connection to all of existence, we need to tap into the other spheres. And what psychedelics do is that they help to break down the default network in the mind. And it's essentially, and you can think of the default network mode of the mind as these ruts that have formed, as it's almost like I use the metaphor of, we walk the same way every day to school, and we always take that same path. And until the day we die, we go on the same road, we walk the same path at the same tempo at the same time. And that's the job of the ego, to keep the sense of familiarity. However, if we do that for the rest of our life, then there's this loss of excitement and awe and wonderment and joy. And so what the psychedelics do is they scramble up the roads. So you have to take a different road. And then you notice like a new tree, and you're like, oh wow, I never noticed that person there before. I never noticed this feeling before. And all of a sudden, life is, it's like that T.S. Eliot poem where, Little Gidding, where he says, we will never cease from exploration, and we will always arrive. I'm paraphrasing now, but he said, we will never cease from exploration, and we will arrive at where we started as if we knew it for the first time. And
yeah.
it's this human exploration of the psyche is very much about reconnecting with one of the most fundamental emotions, which is awe, being in wonderment, that inner childlikeness that we see when we say people get old and jaded, it's because they lost the connection to awe, because life got too heavy. And I feel that people who are called to this medicine are looking to re-spark the awe and wonder again, and to look at everything with a doe-eyed innocence. And some might say that's naive, but I would say that that is crucial for our development. Otherwise, what is the point? What is the point of this life? So anyway, I'm very
You're,
excited to be sharing this medicine, and scramble everyone's default network modes.
yes, that's exciting, and everybody will love it. They will really appreciate that opportunity to live that. And once Psyche has lived it, Psyche knows it, knows that place and space, and you can always return to it in your memory. It's like when someone has a big dream, it takes you completely out of where your ego is placing itself at the moment, and you can always return to it. In my reading group, I asked people, I said, do you have memories of a big dream in your life? And everybody had. Everybody said, oh, that great dream when I was such and such an age or at such and such a time in life. So it's like psyche, once it knows it, has had the experience, it remains a gift forever, actually. It remains a gift forever. I find that as well, traveling outside of time and space, it becomes so easy. It becomes so easy to connect to another level once you've had the experience. And once you've given up the illusion of the ego is very useful. It has to mature in life to be able to receive what's been given on the other levels. So it's useful. But yeah, so we're opening the door to a very exciting adventure. I'm looking forward. We'll have a beautiful place here in Boton. The nature is exquisite. It's a place of deep peace. It's in the Cure in Boton. It's linked to a little temple. And this temple is very ancient, and the peace and the essence, the numen in that temple is very, very special. So we'll have a very exciting time. And yes, it's a beautiful place to be. People are looking forward. Everybody is welcoming you with open arms and open heart.
I'm very
And
excited to be joining you and to be initiated into the land that is
yes, the land
Huachuma.
is beautiful. The land is powerful. We have many, many forests here, beautiful forests. And we have a quantity of birds that is extraordinary. We have very rare birds in these forests. I put them on my app and I listen to them, and now I know the birds, the different bird sounds, but they are truly exquisite. And we have a big owl, eagle owl, that nested recently. Second time in my life I've met one. Yeah, they are very big, An eagle owl is a big, big, big owl, and it's a privilege for us. We're like the indigenous people, we rever this owl, and we welcome it, and we protect it, and we ask people not to go down that path to disturb it. So yes, we become a little bit indigenous around here
And
when we.
the owl is the one that pierces through the veils of illusion,
Yes, of
comes through the
course.
dark.
When he stares at you, he looks right into your soul,
Yeah.
and you feel it. You know it. You know he's knowing.
So there's already
He,
power animals on the land. Great. We will connect with them and meet them and work with them.
yes, great. Thank you. Bless you for coming, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks
Have a
for
wonderful
receiving me.
trip to Thailand and Bhutan.
Oh, thank
I
you.
know you've had many retreats in Bhutan. The people are always so privileged. Also in Bali, in Peru, of course, Mexico. I know you've been Singapore. You've been so many places. You work hard in Australia. So the whole world is welcoming you
Oh,
uh, and opening up to your spirit and your heart. Thank you so much.
oh, thanks, Pat. I'm so looking forward to seeing you. I'll talk to you soon.
Take
Bye.
care. Bless
Bye.
you. Bye.